Welcome everybody to episode 21 of Katawa Shoujo. I am Burning Oil, and in the last episode we seen a photo of Lily and Shizune together where they seem to be really happy. Which has just confused me even more. I feel like something terrible is going to happen. I feel like something absolutely terrible is going to happen eventually. I don't know what yet, but yeah. So out and about. Anyway, let's get straight back into it. My eyes look to Lillys. I can tell from her face that she's listening to her surroundings just as hard as I'm looking. Though truth be told, my eyes are lingering on her each time they sweep across the room. The red Kion-sam she's wearing accentuates her figure very well and shows off her legs. Even her hair is done up, and the scent of perfume is just noticeable. While my black suit may be rental, I managed to select an appropriate one. It feels surprisingly comfortable considering I've so rarely worn one and fits the setting just as well as Lily's attire. I guess this is a new experience for both of us then. She turns somewhat sheepish. I've never come to a place such as this before, no. One hell of a first date, that's for sure. It's going to be pretty hard for me to top this one. A small giggle. Even now her nervousness is dissipating. Her hand skates along the center of the table until it touches the menu, which she takes in both hands and brings to her face. Hisao? As she lowers the beige laminated sheet just below her eyes, I can see another sheepish look. I doubt asking the waiter for a menu in Braille would be productive. I can read it out for you, no problem. I take mine and give it a quick read, my small grin faltering. Perhaps there is... What's wrong? There are quite a few items on here, and I'm not completely sure how to pronounce a couple of them. One fine cuisine after another is listed. Most may be in Japanese, but a few are in English and French. I guess it's to be expected, but I have no idea what's in some of these. Oh, this one I recognize. Wait, hang on. You can cook that? A small giggle of amusement comes from behind the paper sheet. Well, I could read them all out, but it'd take a few hours. Is there anything with some fish in it? Let's see. No. Are those poisonous? No. They eat that stuff? No. Ah, there we go. A tuna salad seems to be a good bet. From the picture, it looks like it'd be pretty filling as well. Seems to be a reasonably safe option. Let's order two then. I'm pretty sure a couple of these dishes are from poisonous animals. I've had enough deadly run-ins for now. Lily maintains a smile, but there's a distinct lack of laughter. Black humour mustn't be her cup of tea, though to be honest I don't find it exceedingly funny either. There are certainly quite a few interesting smells wafting about. The same is true of the sights, I assume. I've never been anywhere quite like this. A fancy Japanese tea house on an occasion or two, but never anything this lavish nor European in styling. Before another word can be said, a portly waiter in distressingly tight vest appears at our table to take our orders. Provincial tuna salad Nikoi? Please? 2. I hope I didn't mess up the pronunciation of that too badly. Even if I did, he doesn't show it. And may I have a glass of Chardonnay, please? Sal? Oh, the same. As the waiter nods and leaves, I suddenly realize what I said by absentmindedly mimicking Lily's answer. I regret it pretty quickly. Alcohol. Only a bit. This girl has an odd propensity to getting hooked on things, I swear. Surprising that they didn't ask for identification. Then again, I guess we both do look mature for our age. I'll have to take your word for it. I'll add that this isn't what I'd call the type of place to ask such things, though. Good point. We both relax a little into our seats, trying to take our minds off the choking formality of the surroundings. As soon as we do, the same waiter reappears at our table with 2 empty glasses and a bottle, the contents of which are quickly and professionally poured into the former. We both nod politely as he leaves, Lily taking her glass and gently moving it from side to side. The liquid inside glistens as it moves around in the glass, and I have to admit, it makes me a little less regretful for ordering the same. I guess it must take some effort to judge how the liquid inside is acting based only on its center of balance. Maybe it's like her origami, taking every little chance to practice her dexterity. I guess I'm not surprised that you don't know about a place like this. Those who have money would, I suppose. By the way, that nail looks real weird. Just saying. This reminds me of just how completely different our upbringings were. In Yamaku, it's easy to forget about social and economic disparity between students all wearing the same uniforms, living in the same dormitories. Well, Akira was the one to tell me of it. She's come here before, apparently. That's what they were conspiring about on Friday. And you chastise me for cheating? That's not cheating, it's simply making use of personal contact. If you say so. Still, I get the feeling that you're more familiar with this kind of restaurant than I am. She pauses a moment, a wistful look on her face, before softly smiling. The compliment seems to brighten her mood. You can thank my former school for that. If I were to appear any less, they'd be gravely disappointed. She has mentioned her previous schooling before, but now I'm a little curious. She seems to think a lot about her past, so I don't see any problem in asking. What was that like? It was prestigious, all girls and Catholic. These facts made my parents choose it for me. Many wealthy families sent their daughters there. From how it sounds, life there must have been pretty strict. I wouldn't say it was a bad experience, but you're quite right. It was very strict. Thankfully, I managed to adapt well enough and make a number of friends. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for my sister. She found the atmosphere and religious aspect suffocating, and ended up leaving for a job as soon as she was able to. She gives a small self-deprecating chuckle. I shouldn't complain about it though, not many even have the chance to go to such a school. Do you resent your parents for sending you there, then leaving? Gently shakes her head. My family is highly patriarchal. My father, business always on his mind, was entirely lost as to what to do with me. In the end, he made the decision that my education was of higher priority than staying with the family. He simply did what he thought was best. Say such things so easily. What an unbelievable girl. That said, I'm a little surprised she doesn't think her blindness played any part at all. Though maybe I'm being too harsh on her family. You're too kind-hearted, you know that. Most would hate their parents for something like that. Well, some do. Oblivious to my raised eyebrow, she takes a sip from her glass. The wine slips down effortlessly, her fondness for it evidently helping her deal with the flavour of alcohol. I can't say the same goes for me. What of yourself? What was your schooling like? Mine? Let's see. It was a fairly normal public school, I suppose, maybe a bit busier than the norm. I did quite well in class and played in the soccer club. Since I am an only child and my parents both worked a lot, I wasted most of my free time and money at the arcade with my three friends. No matter how much I played though, I never did manage to beat Mai at any of those machines. Even Takumi and Shin lost to her whenever they tried. Then I'd be left trying to be the responsible adult when Shin and Mai fought again. Just the four of us, aimlessly enjoying our childhood. Those were some pretty silly times. I catch myself as I realise that I'm starting to zone out, the days of my old school disappear into the night sky and bright city lights outside the window. Lillys face is an odd mixture of curiosity and sympathy. Given her strict schooling, I suppose something like this would seem an interesting contrast to the only life she's known. It sounds like your previous school was a lot of fun. I'm not really sure how much of it is nostalgia, but there are some nice memories. That's in the past though, I can't go back there now. But through my accident I found a new life I'd never have imagined leading. The peace and calm of Yamaku, a new direction for my future in science, the friendship of Shizune, Misha and Hanako, and most of all, you. Yo! She gives a deep, genuine smile as she moves her hands towards me, her fingers just lightly searching out my face before softly caressing my cheek. Her hand reluctantly retreats after a second of warm silence. We notice the waiter arriving with our meals. Lily does a deft job of covering her condition, except for the fact that her nod to him is slightly misaligned due to his silence. She really seems to work hard at appearing as normal as possible, but I noticed it long ago. Still can't quite gauge whether it's a want to be treated differently, a slight sense of vanity, or some mixture of both. Dish served lines up to the salad name. The The dish served lives up to the salad name, and the portions pleasantly large. With sliced eggs and tomato, it looks very enticing indeed. Lily takes a knife in one hand and fork in the other, quickly getting to work on the dish as I do. It's later than when we usually have dinner, so we're both eager to dig in. My cautious skewering of leaves and vaguely meat-like squares with my fork is matched by Lily's silent and measured prodding and chewing. An occasional tap around the sides of a piece of the food to work out its edges is the only giveaway to her lack of sight. I'm done with my meal in little time, Lily taking the last few bites as I sit observing her. Finished, Hisao? Yeah, it was pretty nice. That much is very true. I never thought a simple salad would be so tasty and filling. Then again, I suppose that's why it costs so much to eat here. Content with my appraisal and evidently agreeing, Lily gives a small nod. You know, given that you're part foreign, exotic looking and quite pretty, I'm surprised that nobody's ever confessed to you before. You're assuming nobody did. The simple statement takes me off guard. I shouldn't be surprised given that I was complimenting her just moments before. Really? I've received several confessions, both in this school and my previous one. Adolescence is a funny time. She's kind of talking as if she's above it herself. Huh. Not easily you say such a thing. Lily looks surprised for a moment before a playful smirk covers her face. Is that jealousy? What? No, it isn't. You're such a bad liar, Hisao. You should take that into account. Then again, I do appreciate how sincere you are, even if you don't intend to be, sometimes. I think your honesty will always serve you well when dealing with others. I cleared my throat in mock disapproval of this whole business and tried to steer the conversation elsewhere. To tell the truth, though, I do prefer solitude to being surrounded by others. I don't think I could maintain a social circle like you do. She contemplates this for a second. I don't think that's true either. I've seen how gentle and caring you are around Hanako, and you get on marvellously well with others, even those whom you hardly know. I think you're quite adept at social situations. But on that note, what of your confessions, Hisao? I'm sure someone like you must have had at least one admirer. As I open my mouth to speak, I can feel my face turn slightly dour. Times like this, I secretly appreciate the fact that she can't see my expressions. Just one. Her name was Iwanako. It was when she confessed to me that I had my heart attack, there in the woods during winter. Lily finds herself speechless, not expecting for the topic to move into such an area. My condition has always been something of a concern for her, something that I strive to minimize despite my body's best efforts to the contrary. Afterwards, she visited me for a while when I was in the hospital. For weeks she came in and talked. It was usually just small talk or classroom gossip. That was enough. But eventually she just stopped coming. She was there every day, then every other day, then once a week, then finally, one day she just stopped visiting entirely. Did you ever see her again? Wrapped in my own little world, I shake my head before remembering the futility of the gesture. Mention the letter. Memory of that single letter Iwanako sent me comes back to my mind. I never saw her again, but after I was sent to Yamaku, she wrote me one letter. Lily's face shows an expression I know well. I've piqued her interest. I'd be slightly offended that it's simply a matter of curiosity for her, but she's never really been good at masking her reactions. In hindsight, it really didn't say much. What was going on in my old class, how she was faring, and almost as an afterthought that it was probably best for both of us that we don't see each other again. Yeah. After reading it, I ended up reassessing a lot of things I thought I'd managed to work out. For the most part, that letter reminded me that the world around me was still moving, and just how much I'd become isolated from it. And I guess it also reminded me of what I'd lost. She gives the information some thought before her face lights up in realization. No doubt she's worked out that it was this letter that had contributed to my angst during that rooftop. It's a rare sight to see Lily quite so lost for words. Her entire persona is a little deflated from her earlier rapt interest. As charismatic as she is, in the end, that isn't any replacement for life nor relationship experience. Perhaps it is better she sent it than not. How's that? It can be difficult to work out how best to communicate with those who you haven't met in a long time. All the more so, considering your separate situations. Instead of doing what was easiest, she built up the courage to talk to you one last time. Not only for her sake, but from the sounds of it, for yours as well. Maybe I don't hate her for it, not that I really ever did, but I don't know. Probably a bit more committal, probably a more non-committal answer than I should have given, but it isn't without cause. I've never looked at the situation from a Wanako's perspective like that before. Seconds pass in silence before Lily speaks again. Moving to Yamaku must have been hard for you, having your friends and even your girlfriend taken from you for no fault of your own. The worst of it passed while I was in the hospital, though. All that surrounds you is 4 white walls and a small television. Your mind takes on a life of its own. Like my old school, I guess. I just try not to dwell on what's happened and keep thinking ahead. All that reminiscing does is get me down, and it's largely thanks to you that it feels like things are finally getting back on track. That's pleasing to hear, Hisao. She lowers her face slightly, her expression pensive. I guess I went too far and embarrassed her. Suppose you went through something a bit like what I did when you entered Yamaku anyway, right? I imagine the vast majority of school students did, after all. You said yourself that you made friends in your old school. I can't imagine many followed you. Lily's deep smile drops, her expression unexpectedly darkening. Even her hands retreat to her lap. After a long while, she speaks. Hisao, can you promise not to tell anyone else what I am about to? I promise. She looks slightly taken aback by my serious tone, but then relents and smiles weakly before continuing. When I moved to Yamaku, I did regret losing the friends I'd had at my other school. There was one person whom I most regretted not seeing again. He was the reason I took up English as a future career. Considering she came from an all-girls school, that can't have been a schoolmate then. I rejected the confessions I'd received until then for him. Every time I improved my English skills, his praise was my most treasured reward. It's funny, isn't it? Someone like me, able to boast about the people who have set eyes on me, liking someone so utterly unattainable as my tutor. It truly is the most ridiculous thing. Did you? She quickly shakes her head from side to side. I couldn't, even then. I knew it was impossible. Silence reigns over both of us. This does seem to explain her ardent focus on her future in teaching English, but I can't help thinking of her confession to me. She lost him without ever letting her feelings be known. Did she somehow fear that would happen again, but with me? I don't really know what to make of it. I've heard of such relationships before, taboos born of such things as puberty in the youth. The fact that she had the good judgment not to act on it, though, is heartening. I know this must sound strange, but please, don't think of me. Why would I think any less of you for that? To be honest, I think he must have been a very nice person if you liked him so much. Not only that, but you stopped yourself before going too far. For a moment she looks somewhat lost, most unexpectedly though. It isn't a second before she starts laughing. The sound takes me off guard. It's not a giggle, nor a strange chuckle, but honest and genuine laughter. I found myself smiling, not just as her display of relief and happiness, but for her to trust me enough to let me see this most private of secrets. Before I realize it, I feel her palm touching my face. Her touch is gentle as ever, with her thumb slowly stroking my cheek. You're kind, Hisao. I really do love you. Seeing her face like this, with her palm gently caressing my face, I think tonight has been a wonderful night. Guess we both had pretty weird pasts, eh? I think by most standards, our present is rather odd as well. I smile and hang my head. This woman can easily run rings around me, of that I'm quite sure. I look back around the room with its continuing quiet hum of patrons. This place probably fits into the odd category too. It is a tad overbearing. That's one word for it, yeah. I catch the eye of a scurrying waiter, a short, scrawny guy, no older than 20. He kind of reminds me of Kenji, though unlike him, the waiter isn't dressed for winter during midsummer. After a curt bow and offered to remove our plates, Lily asks for the bill politely and softly. With expert coordination, he maneuvers around the tables, our plates in hand, to retrieve our bill. In no time, he reappears through the door, smartly handing our bill to Lily, who promptly hands it to me, causing him to raise an eyebrow. As I read the small computer-printed leaflet, the cost is considerably more than I expected. Hisao? Oh, I quickly stammer out the amount, to which Lily merely nods and reaches for her purse. Giving her card to the waiter, he disappears once again. That was a disproportionately large amount of money. The statement seems to make Lily slightly uncomfortable. My family leaves me more than enough for my education. The same goes for my sister, though she dislikes being reminded of that fact. That said, I too dislike throwing money about, but this one time I think I can make an exception. Just for you. Not only did you choose our date, but you paid for both of us as well. I take the bridge of my nose in my fingers. I can't believe how high you have set the bar for our next date. She gives a small giggle. I'll be looking forward to it then, Hisao. The waiter reappears beside us as if by magic and hands Lily's card back to her. Evidently picking up on her lack of sight, he places the card in her hand with an extra, perhaps unneeded amount of firmness to make sure of her grip. Leaving, he exercises a measure of diplomacy by keeping a neutral face despite my own expression. Clapping my hands together, I stand up from my seat in order to bring an end to our night out. Shall we be off then, milady? Milady? Oh my goodness. He didn't just really say milady. I hope he said it mockingly though. Oh. Yeah! I snap upwards out of my sheets and sit bolt upright in bed as if an electric shock had just run through my body. The night air feels cold against the sweat on my bare skin, my breathing short and rugged nearly to the point of hyperventilation. Mind racing, I bring my hand to my head in an attempt to soothe my body's panicked state. It takes me a number of seconds to realize my hand is shaking violently, even as I press it against my face. More seconds pass in complete silence, my desperate attempts to subdue my body and mind slowly, thankfully working. Gathering myself, I start taking measure of the state I'm in. It feels like I've run a marathon, every muscle feeling tense and sweat practically pouring off me. I carefully direct my attention to the beating in my chest, measuring out the rhythm in my head. Sure enough, my unreliable heart is functioning properly for Just the hell was that? Heart attack? A bad nightmare? Medicine side effects? I've heard about panic attacks, and this does seem to have the hallmarks of one. I can't even be bothered thinking about it right now. I feel utterly exhausted yet completely awake after this experience. I look over to the other side of my bed, the pale white of the silent figure's face almost glowing in the nighttime dark. Just the sight of her is enough to calm me down significantly. Her graceful demeanor persists even while she is asleep, her perfectly measured breathing and gentle face making it impossible to tell whether she is awake or truly sleeping. Giving in to temptation, I delicately run my fingertips over her hand. Her skin is soft to the touch, as it always has been, yet warm even in the cold night. Screenshot, baby boy! It's at times like this, silently appreciating each other's presence, that I feel we're closest. My fingers stop at her wrist, and I bring my hand back down to the beside me. I'm not entirely sure why, but as we became even closer to each other, it felt as if something grew inside between us. I'm not entirely sure what it is, nor whether it existed before we'd fallen in love. Was it your penis? Sorry. Everything's moved so fast. I don't mind it at all, but it feels unlike Lily to be pushing things this much. Thankfully, there aren't any students milling around in the hallways at this hour of the morning, lest I be interrogated on why I'm carrying 2 plates of breakfast to my room while dressed in obviously hastily donned uniform. That isn't to say things like this never happen, of course. A single security guard patrolling between 2 sets of bedrooms situated right next to each other is a very small force compared to adolescent hormones. Come to think of it, the fact that it's Monday morning probably helps. I'm not really sure why, but Mondays seem to bother me less than they do most others. It takes a little creative use of my hands and elbow, but eventually I manage to work the door to my dormitory room open. Stepping aside, I see Lily just getting up from the bed, entirely rubbing her eyes. She looks a mess. It's like most other times I've seen her soon after she wakes. She really isn't a morning person. Sorry, I didn't mean to wake you. She groggily shakes her head. The morning light illuminating her makes for a very pleasant sight. It's okay, I needed to get up anyway. What time is it? I put my plate down on my desk and turn the clock. Still early. Don't worry, there's plenty of time left before school. She sits on the side of the bed and begins to sniff the air. As she does this, I quickly move a plate away and put it on the desk beside mine. Yes, I got some breakfast. Shower and clothes come first, though. Oh. She stands still for a moment, her chin pointed slightly out. I gladly acquiesce and press my lips to hers, savouring the soft feeling before breaking off. With a small, sweet smile, apparently quite satisfied, she slowly makes her way to the showers. I stretch to try and wake myself up a little more, briefly looking at the steaming dishes on the desk. Rice, fish, miso soup, and some vegetables. A standard breakfast for a somewhat unusual day. Really? That's a standard breakfast? Holy crap. I grab the bottles from my desk and start taking my daily regimen of pills. Sometimes I wonder what these things are even good for. Given all the troubles I've had since the initial accident, I can't even say that it doesn't hurt to take them, considering the side effects so far. Well, whatever. Doctor's orders are that I have to take them, and rationality suggests that I'd be well served to trust his judgment over mine. It didn't take long for the noise of the shower to cease, a quick one apparently, being fine for Lily given the circumstances. Emerging from the bathroom, she looked significantly more awake, having had the chance to collect herself. Without a word, I gently take her hand in mine and guide it to my desk. Considering I don't have a tailor in my room as she does, it'll have to do. Thank you, Hisao. What did you prepare for breakfast? Just rice and some vegetables? Something fast. Face lights up at the revelation. That's quite a breakfast. This is normal for you? Now she's just being nice. I have little doubt, considering her past, that she isn't exactly a high-class meal. That this isn't exactly a high-class meal by her standards. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Just because we're students doesn't mean we can take it lightly. That's my belief anyway. From what others I've talked to have said, I might be in the minority. I take a seat on the side of my bed and begin eating together with Lily. Her chopsticks lightly tapping out the outlines of the vegetables, just as I'd noticed her do during our date. This is quite nice, Hisao. I had no idea you could cook this well. This time she's much more genuine. I can tell that much. That said, cooking really isn't anything special at all. After a bit of practice, it's pretty easy to make a simple dish. Most of the credit goes to modern technology. Still, after years of cooking for myself, I should hope so. I got bored of eating instant noodles and ordering pizza every time my parents were both working, so I taught myself how to make a few meals. Still trying to get the knack of it, though. You'll make a good wife someday, Hisao. I take a grain of rice and place it onto my thumb before carefully taking aim and giving it a good flick. He jumps a little as it hits her cheek, right on target. I can't help chuckling a little at her expense as she lowers her brow and tries her best to assume a harsh and serious expression. Oh, that's right. What is it? Did you have any problem sleeping last night? You seem restless. But she was awake back then, or at least partly so. Whether it was my heart or a nightmare caused by the side effects of my medicine, the last thing I want is for her to be worrying about me even more. Even before my relationship with Lily, I'd felt my body was a drag on everything I did. My body is my burden alone, so as long as I'm with her, I'll continue to act as normally as possible. No, not particularly. Is that so? That's good, then. Luckily, she seems to take me at my word. Come to think of it, there was something else I wanted to ask. Oh? How should I put it? When you dream, do you see people and objects? Yes, of course, I feel more than a little sheepish for that slip of the tongue. However earnest it may be, Lily looks unperturbed, though. But you don't taste, feel, nor smell things. I move to answer, but find myself stuck before thinking about it. The more I mull it over, the more I realize that her hypothesis is correct. That's true, I guess. I never looked at it that way. Are you saying that you do? For the most part, I can only hear in dreams, but yes, sometimes I touch and smell things as well. Just asking, since Akira thought it very strange that I did when I brought it up with her. If you don't either, then maybe it's due to my blindness. That would make sense. You rely on your other senses more than me, so maybe that affects your dreams as well. The wonders of the human body, I guess. The rest of the time before school, we quietly eat the hearty breakfast in front of us, exchanging a few small pieces of small talk as we do. Quick peek out the window shows nobody's looking directly at the entrance to the boys' dormitories and walk out with the path clear. Ah, the weather's good today. Stretches as Lily and I make our way outside, the bright morning sun beaming down on us. But we have to finish here, my boys and girls. Let's give it a quick save. See what it's called. Morning's Reverie again. What? Okay. Guys, thank you very much for watching today. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. Episode 22 will be going live tomorrow as usual. We're back to our regular scheduling. If you have any positive or negative comments to make, please let me know so I can improve my videos. Please give a like and share so I know that you like these videos, and I'll keep continue making them. And if you have any recommendations for any other visual novels that are similar to this, or any games that are in this kind of style, please let me know as well, and I'll get to work on them. Yeah, guys, but anyway, I've been Al, and now I am out. I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.